Welcome to today's podcast. This is another episode of Challenge to Champion. And because it's Spinal Cord Awareness Month, the month of September, I thought it would be an interesting topic to just speak a bit about spinal cord injuries, my spinal cord injury, to be specific. I don't have all the information and all the technology and all the knowledge of what's currently happening in the industry, but I do have a bit of specific knowledge about my injury and how the future looks for my injury. I found a couple of x-rays which I don't think you'll be able to see because of the glare. But I'm gonna put a photo of these on, and that shows quite well the extent of my injury. In those x-rays, you can very clearly see that I've shattered a couple of vertebrae. My injury is from T4 to T7, so that is 3 vertebrae which have been removed from my back just because they were damaged so badly. And that is the reason that they put the big brace in my back. There's 2 steel rods with a lot of screws and so on. That's basically keeping me upright, and that is something which is also strange. You wouldn't think that they would be able to do that. They basically are using steel to do what the vertebrae used to do. With the vertebrae that splintered in my back, it cut up a lot of my spine, and for that reason, I'm basically missing about 5 centimeters of spinal cord, and that creates another fact or another problem that my lower part of my body doesn't get signals. So I've had a lot of conversations with people where they ask me, have you started walking yet, or even just a little bit, or standing up, or anything like that? But that's not how it works. You get 2 types of spinal cord injuries. You get complete injuries and incomplete injuries. The incomplete injuries are just like, it can be anything from a bruise or a pinch on the spinal cord, or an indent or an abscess, or there's a lot of things that can happen that can damage the spinal cord. But if that damage is not complete, that means not totally separated, that is when people can relearn how to walk or relearn how to stand and just work at it. There's another thing that happens, what they call spinal shock, and this is a period. It can last anything from 2 months, if you're lucky, to maybe 1.5 years in worst cases. The doctors would say they can determine that within 3 months, but I've heard of some cases where it only happened later, where they changed the diagnosis to say, after the spinal shock, he began to move his toe or this or that, and then they just changed what they said, because it's a bit of a guessing game. I think with the severity of my accident, it's a bit more easy and straightforward to see, because it's such a devastating injury. There's so big of a problem. It's easier to see. If the gap was maybe very small, there could be a little tether of spinal cord still connected, and you wouldn't be able to see it on an MRI. So for this fact, the fact that I don't have a piece of spinal cord, that means the lower part of my body, everything from my chest down, doesn't have sensation, doesn't get feeling, doesn't have movement, or any of those. And I think that is a major problem, of course. But something which people don't take into consideration, or what they don't think about, is all the intestinal functions of your body, the things that your body still need to do for you to be a human. And these are a lot of the times the places that gets people down the most. It's bladder function, stomach function, liver, kidney, all of those things. Some quadriplegics also have heart and lung problems because of the fact that their muscles can't contract and release anymore. So there's multiple levels of problems due to spinal cord injuries. The two basic classifications that you get for this spinal cord injuries is normally a quadriplegic, and a quadriplegic doesn't have movements of his arms or legs, and then you get a paraplegic which doesn't have function of their lower body. And I'm classified as a paraplegic T7, and that again, that just says the height of the injury. I thought to just give a bit of that background just so that people know, because I also didn't know what it entails. What is a spinal cord injury? What does a spine even do? That is not something which we get in contact with, or something that we really hear about often. The good thing is there's a lot of people working on fixes for this. It is a real slow progressing field because of a lot of influence from medical boards and all of these things, and that is good. That's good overall, because there's a lot of people taking really dangerous chances and of course risking other people's lives, but I can assure you there's a lot of people willing to risk it if there's a bit of chance to regain something. The things that I know about the most, or the fields that I know about the most at the moment, is they call it epidural stimulation. Now what that is there's a few versions of these. There's high-end versions and really complicated ones that people like Elon Musk they are working on it at Neuralink. And then there's a bit more low-end, and when I say low-end, I don't mean that disrespectful in any sense. I'm just comparing the two. So for instance, the epidural stimulation that I know that some people get in, there's a few places where they get it in Mexico, in Thailand. There's a few centers which do this. They call it epidural stimulation. Now what that is that's basically a receiver that they put as an implant in your back, and it basically gives electric pulses. Now that's basically what your spine does. Your brain thinks a movement or a function, and that signal gets sent through your spinal cord to the specific place where it needs to go. I'll also put like a picture on it, but your whole body is like tree roots going to every part of your body, and that is basically just like the wiring of a house. So what they currently do is they put an implant in your back just below the injury, and they try to give it new signals, because like I said, my lower part of my body, there's nothing wrong with it, but it's not getting the signals that it needs to perform the task that it needs to do. So what this epidural stimulator then does is it gives your body signals. Now I know the ones that they are currently using in Thailand and Mexico and so on, it's because of their medical regulatory systems that it's easier to do it on that side. But what they currently use is like a 16-channel receiver that is implanted in the back. Now, if you think of the difficulty and the intricacy of the signals that your body has to send to move your leg, the amount of muscles that have to contract or to release, or to the amount of movement then, and the amount of data that needs to be sent to do those movements are tremendous. It's a lot more than 16 channels, that I can assure you. Now, the good thing is that Elon Musk, he's working on also a neural implant, and this one will currently, I think it has 4,000 and something channels. Now, this allows for a lot of things to be sorted out. The problem is, it's of course each channel that you add increases the difficulty and the intricacy of the device. So the programming of the device is another big thing. What they do at Neuralink is they put an implant in your head, and this implant sits on your motor cortex. That is the part of your brain that gives movement. That's the part of the brain that sends signals to your limbs to give you movement. So firstly, they do an implant with small microscopic wires that they put into that part of your brain. And when you think of a movement, it sends a signal, or it gives like a electrical spike in a certain area of that piece of your brain. So what they then do is they use that signal to determine what is it that you want to do, what is it that your body wants to do. Then they convert that signal into an electrical signal, which they can then send to another device, which corresponds with the top device. So then the bottom receiver knows what the top receiver is picking up. And I know this sounds like really futuristic and like Iron Man type of stuff, but this is actually this year being implemented in human trials. They have had FDA approval for this, and someone like me, this is something that I am really excited about and really hopeful for, because I do believe that this is a way in which to cure spinal cord injuries and in which to fix this massive problem that a lot of people across the world struggle with. Another great thing which Elon Musk is busy with, or Neuralink is busy with, is they are not using doctors to perform these operations because of the preciseness. It is so really small, the wire size, as well as the specific spot which they must be able to reach in the brain. These operations can't really be performed by hand. So they developed a robot that does the operations, and this robot is extremely accurate and extremely fast. And of course, it's not as expensive as a human to run. I mean, the initial part was expensive to build, but now it doesn't have to be paid per hour like a medical doctor does. They are planning on doing this type of operations in basically in a half an hour, which you go and lay in a device with the mechanical arm. It does everything. It does the small cutout of your head, the implant. It closes everything up again. You won't notice a person has this device in their head, and that can regain function. So these are things. I don't know how applicable this is for all the viewers, but if you know anyone with a spinal cord injury, I don't mind sharing or what's wrong with me or what happened with me or anything like that. In fact, I respect a lot of people for asking me and just being polite about it and saying, listen, what happened, or what's wrong, or is there any possibility for improvement or anything like that. I really don't mind answering, and I like telling people about what technologies are available and that there's hope. And I think for something like my situation and a lot of other people's situation, is even if we can have hope where the current medical agreed diagnosis is that paraplegias for life. Medically, that is what they currently say. So if someone like me can currently have hope, I think then there's hope for everyone, probably. Look for fixes. Place this problem, whatever your problem is. The information age is extremely valuable, and it's so easy to look for information, look for technologies, look for what's going on, what are other people doing, podcast. It's such a valuable resource that we have, and that we shouldn't take for granted. We should use it. I listen to so many podcasts and some entertainment, but also a lot of knowledge, gaining a lot of knowledge from these podcasts. And I think you should place your future and try to take control of it and place it in your own hands. That is the ultimate goal, to be able not to rely on someone, and take control of your future and take control of what's happening around us and the technologies that are available to us. So thank you for listening to my small talk on spinal cord injuries. I hope this was informative, and I'll be doing maybe one or two more of these, one with my wife as well, throughout the month, just because it's Spinal Cord Awareness Month. And I think that would be valuable going forward, that you guys know what my injury is and how the future for me looks like. Thanks for listening.